Are you a thoughtful leader? Maybe you are. Maybe you think you are. Let's find out. I'm Mindy Gibbins-Klein. I'm author of The Thoughtful Leader and host of the Thoughtful Leader podcast. Thoughtful leadership is all about thought leadership that goes above and beyond. Thought leadership that is truly new and original, exciting, disruptive, maybe even groundbreaking. Because let's face it, we need to raise the bar. My guests and I are absolutely obsessed with finding truly original thought leadership, and I'm going to bring you so many exciting ideas and opportunities, things for you to think about, and chances for you to push your thinking that you'll be very glad you tuned in. So thanks so much for checking out Thoughtful Leadership and the Thoughtful Leader podcast. I look forward to connecting with you very, very soon. Welcome to the show. My guest today is the amazing thoughtful leader, Nigel Vardy. You are in for a treat to hear what he has to say, what he's been through, his thoughtful insights. Welcome, Nigel.
Good afternoon, Mindy.
This is fantastic. I was trying to think how long we've known each other. We have known each other more than 15 years, probably more like 20 years. I know I was in my other house when we first met, and your story just intrigued me from the moment I heard about it. I was absolutely mesmerized, but most of our viewers and listeners don't know your story. So can you give a little summary for them?
Crikey. Yes, I've enjoyed traveling the world, and I've enjoyed doing it in a rather interesting way, which has been through expeditions. So I've walked over deserts, bashed through jungles, and also climbed quite a few mountains. And the defining point of sort of my expedition history was in Alaska 20 odd years ago, where I got severely frostbitten on Denali, Mount McKinley, in temperatures of -60. That's my hands now, so that's quite visual. That's my forehead. I am not going to show you my feet, but I have no toes. And through a terrible storm on the mountain, basically 3 of us nearly froze to death. And believe me, anybody can do that. That is completely achievable. Go and sleep in a freezer and you will get frostbite. However, it's how you come out of the other end of that which defines you. And that's what I've spent the last 20 odd years doing, through speaking, through being thoughtful, through more expedition work, and there's a rack more to come.
And you are a total inspiration. I imagine when you speak in the schools in particular, they are completely riveted, and it is hard to get school children to pay attention. What do they find the most interesting or exciting about what you say?
I don't pull punches. You get straight talking with me. I'm not going to be, let's go round the bush about this. Let's make it pretty. Frostbite isn't pretty. It hurts. I also show the full pictures, and particularly key stage 2 or 3 in Britain. You get a 10-year-old looking at gory photos. I think it's the best thing out. And I'm quite humorous, but not funny. I'm very open, and I will answer absolutely any question.
Well, that's why I invited you on the show, because I do tend to ask some off-the-wall questions, and we appreciate it when people answer them. But seriously, you are someone who has done stuff that most people haven't done. You've had these adventures, you've pushed yourself physically, but I guess mostly emotionally. The thoughtful leader doesn't just settle. That's one of the aspects of thoughtful leadership. They go beyond, and they have to push a bit harder. So can you talk to our listeners and our viewers about pushing through and your take on that?
I've grown up in the outdoors, and I spent all of my life sort of never leaving them, regardless of what's happened to me. So some of my earliest childhood memories were in poor weather, dark nights, blizzard, snow, rain, and I just thoroughly loved it. And I've embraced absurdity for the rest of my life. So at the moment in the UK, people are saying, it might be a bit cold, we're moving into autumn or whatever, and I just embrace everything. When it snows, I run up and down like a 4-year-old. Any change is wonderful to me because nothing is constant. And I have always embraced what comes through your door, out the clouds, through your inbox, through your letterbox, because you sometimes have no control of that. What you have control of is how you react to it. And what we've got to think about is, by having that, I call it serving the apprenticeship, by having that youthful, open eye gaze of, let's see what comes through the door today. Let's not always plan everything and just see what hits me in the face. And let's deal with it. And let's deal with it really well, professionally, to a high standard, because we set the standards and I set mine very, very high. And I embrace everything, regardless of the hours it takes, the effort, physical and mental. And I've been through both in extreme cases in the last few months. And I wake up every day with a smile on my face.
Yes, you do. And I imagine that you sometimes meet people in groups. So you're not doing these expeditions on your own. Are there people who, let's just say, they don't have that attitude that you're talking about? And what happens? Do they quit halfway up a mountain, or what happens to most people?
What I find, Mindy, and you see this in all aspects of life, what I've got to ask people is, why are you doing what you do? Because people say, I've got to go to Everest Base Camp. Great. Why? Well, because some of my friends have done it. Okay. So that means you're not going to enjoy a moment of it. All you want to do is come back, stick some pictures on social networking and tell people, look what I did. But you didn't enjoy it and you achieved nothing from it. And we do meet a lot of people like that. I regularly get asked, Nigel, it's my 50th birthday. What do you think I should do? Climb Kilimanjaro or go to Machu Picchu? And I'll say neither. Why are you doing it? Well, that's because that's everywhere where everybody else goes. Then go somewhere else. And all my mountaineering has been based on going where there's nobody else and taking that different path, because that is where you learn.
Taking the different path. So what have you learned by taking the different path, since people are going to be hanging on your every word? What have you learned that they might learn?
I've had to learn on my feet. When we follow what everybody else does, then we learn what everybody else learns. So when we go somewhere else where perhaps in my mountaineering world there isn't a path, you might be only the seventh. Some places I've been the first human ever to go somewhere. There is no guide. There is no map. There's no YouTube video. There's nothing on LinkedIn to say this is how we did it. You put that foot down and you're the first person in history to do it. That's how you learn, from what you feel under your feet. You grasp with your hands. You look with your eyes. And by following everybody else, I think it dulls the emotion, which is what we need to be attached to everything. We've got to be emotionally attached to what we do in my trade. If we're following everybody else, it's just like sitting on a train. We all follow them because that's what they do. Great, wonderful, rubbish. I want to go places where every step I put down makes me learn. And if I get it wrong, it might be my last. So get it right.
So do you spend time thinking about that? Because you do put yourself, living on the edge. You put yourself into extreme situations. You are fantastic at doing everything that you did before, but with fewer fingers and toes. But you are taking chances, taking risks. Do you think about that on a regular basis?
No. What I think about is how we define risk. I've grown up, as I say, in farming, in the outdoors, the 60s and 70s, where if you fell over, well, we just rubbed your knee and spat on a piece of cloth and away you went. Now we'd have to call out the mountain rescue team and get sanitizing wipes. I still judge risk, and I look at things and think that's too dangerous and I won't do it. Because I've done this for a long time, what you think it might be risky to me becomes the norm. And at the moment, I'm looking at doing some sea kayaking off Greenland. And it will be infested with polar bears, which I can cope with, but midges, which I can't. But that's not going to stop me doing it. What I've got to think is, how do I train for that experience to get as much out of it as I can, physically and mentally? How do I fund that? How do I execute it? But even more sometimes important, the expedition is, how do I use the experience when I come back? And I don't think some of these things are as risky as people think. It's the fact they've never done them. You know, if you've never been rock climbing, you'll think it's horrendously risky. And then you'll see people rock climbing and they're just going up and down like it's a walk in the park. It's all about perception.
And training, presumably.
Lots of training. I mean, as I say, I talk about the apprenticeship. Nobody should go and try and climb a mountain with a week's notice, no experience. People do. I've been doing this since the day I was born, and I'll do it until I can walk no further.
Well, I'm sure people are beginning to think about their own potential adventures, and I really hope they listen to you in terms of doing something that maybe not everybody is doing and training properly for it, doing that preparation. You mentioned funding, and I have to pick up on this because you were recently, or maybe still are, an ambassador or speaker or somehow involved with National Geographic. Can you tell everybody how that came about, please?
I'm actually connected to the Royal Geographical Society, not National Geographic, but that's okay. In a plain way of putting it, Mindy, I have paid for every expedition I've ever been on out my own money. I have never been sponsored. I have never been funded. I occasionally get some free kit, and I occasionally get, have £100 for something. A lot of these trips are multi-thousands. I just work damn hard and I save hard. But like so many things in life, if you want to do something enough, you'll commit yourself to it in more ways than just I want to go. And so I commit my entire life to a trip or whatever it may be, and funding it through my engineering and speaking work. And then you pay the bills and go. It's quite simple. You can't get anywhere for free. And I've never been able to get sponsorship. So I found I was banging my head on a wall. So I thought, stop banging, Nige. Nobody's listening. Do it yourself. Go and achieve it.
That is a stunning message in itself, because there's a lot of people out there waiting for someone else to wave the magic wand or open that door or make it happen. And they think they're just going to sit there and have something handed to them on a platter. There's so many different instances of this that I've seen with people publishing books, with people trying to build a speaking career, and, why are they not getting paid or paid what they want? Sometimes it doesn't happen. And then I guess what you're saying is, if it's not happening the way that you expected or hoped, to be thoughtful and decide, why you want to do it, how important is it, and are you willing to make it happen despite that? Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely. I find you need a real niche if you're going to be funded. It may be a team that it's very rare now to do something that's never been done. It's incredibly difficult in this world. A lot I find is down to who you know, but also the plain simplicity of it is there are not companies anymore. Nobody's just going to hand you a check and say, go and climb wherever. It has happened. It's incredibly rare. And you tend to find the people that do the big 7 summits now. I was speaking with an international mountaineer only the other week about this. When you look at what they actually do for a living, you'll find AZ person climbed Everest 5 times. What are they in their job? They're a hedge fund manager. And now you know how they funded it. But they'll never tell you that publicly.
And you also have challenged yourself and made a goal and climbed those 7 peaks and been to 7 islands. And you know where this is going. Of course, the listeners don't. But he's written some really, really great books. You're a fantastic writer, Nigel. You get the reader into the whole experience. I remember the first time that I read Once Bitten, and I think I held my breath for the first 30 pages. It just was relentless. What do you like about sharing your stories, the actual story, but also the insights in your writing and speaking? What do you like about that?
The ability to teach others and share experience, because it's no good saying, I'm going to walk 700 miles to the pole. Lovely, wonderful. And you come back and you've had a wonderful time. That's great. Right, okay. And how do you inspire the next generation? How do you make other people think? How do you assist other people? A lot of work I do is never seen. And it's because I get contacted by people asking, could you advise me on? Do you know of anybody? can you help? And I'll gladly give time and effort to that because it's their journey. And though we all walk our own path, we all have our thoughts and emotions and what we're trying to learn, I think we should share. I've never been one for, here's a keynote, but I'm never going to send you the presentation. If I work in a school and they say, can we have some of the pictures? Fine, have them, share them. Please use them, because only then can we inspire people. They can have their own thoughts, their own ideas, their own creativity, and they may do something positive with that.
That's very generous, and you're very generous with the books. I know you do special deals. I'm sure you give loads away. I know you sell them as well. I bet you've never left the spears and the weapons behind for them to play with.
I was once asked to leave a machete behind by some chaps at a school at Southport. No, this is not a toy. And that's the thing. A lot of people, because they live in a virtual world, they see virtual actions, and I come in with real ice axes. These are not virtual. This is the kit and caboodle. And you can feel through them when I hold them. And when I'm climbing with them, you have such a connection with nature and everything there, that you've only got to pick them up again to put yourself back in that place, even if you're in the middle of a school hall, wherever. And it gives me great inspiration every time I pick them up. So
that's what we call an anchor in the NLP world. Yeah. Imagine that. So I like the way that you've been talking about having some kind of emotional connection with the tool. You've spoken about having an emotional connection, being present wherever you are and really experiencing things. So do you get annoyed when you're out for walks and all people are doing is, the selfie? Or
Don't even start. I live next to the Derbyshire Peak District, and not only is it the selfie, it's the description. When I was a boy, we used to walk up a peak called Mantor. You can park halfway up it. There's an ice cream van. There's a path this wide now and a trig point on the top. And I see people writing in magazines going, we have conquered the mountain called Mantor. And it absolutely drives me insane, Mindy, because what are you conquering? Even Ed Hillary said about Everest, it is not the mountain we conquer, it's ourselves. We are the people that need to be, thoughtful, respectful, insightful. We are not conquering a hill. It's going to be there a damn sight longer than we are. And you get to the top. Yes, of course, people want to take Instagram pictures and post that same view 900 times a day. It's not my cup of tea. But if it's theirs, if that's how they choose to live, I will not criticize them. I might think, come on, give us a rest, people. We're trying to have a cup of tea here and just engage with the view. But if that's their style, like people used to take big tripod cameras up years ago, people have done yoga retreats on mountains. If that's your thing, lovely, go and do it. But no, don't bring all the snapshots towards me. I'll bring a big camera and take a lovely big shot, but I don't want 15 minutes of this instead of looking with these. This is what God gave you. Use them. Be in the moment.
So in our last few minutes here, I want to thank you for reminding us of all these important things, and thank you for being thoughtful and inclusive and accepting of others. And not everybody is going to see things in the same way. That we know this now. So if you can inspire somebody, or just create a spark for them to maybe consider. It's a word we use a lot here at The Thoughtful Leader. Consider making it mean a bit more. Consider really being present. Consider leaving your phone at home. Well, no, because if you get into trouble, but leave it in your bag. And really, be in the moment. I know it's cliched, but that's what I hear you saying. Yeah.
It is, because I think it shows massively. When I was a child, you would take a reel of film and it was so old with 38 on, you'd forgotten what was on the start because that was 6 months ago. Now people take that in 2 minutes. Have we reduced the quality of what we do by the amount of data we create? So why don't we create absolutely top quality content rather than loads and loads and loads and loads of drivel that just gets lost in this big sea? Why don't we create that huge cruise ship that comes out and goes, hey, I'm good at what I do, and think about it and be in the moment. And as you say, consider other people and hopefully they'll consider you. I believe in share and share alike and being equal with everybody. And we can all then really enjoy our experiences.
Well, you hit the nail on the head, because that's what we talk about a lot in The Thoughtful Leader and on this podcast, is all about quality, not quantity. But we're running out of time, and we have time for one tip, something that you would like to share that you think the viewer or the listener might consider. What would you share?
Think about what you'd like to do, consider it carefully, and then go and do it. And apply yourself to whatever it is. Consistent application works wonders. There's plenty of flash in the pans out there that appear, and it's all very loud and colourful, and they disappear. If you want to be thoughtful and do something positive, keep applying yourself to it.
Absolutely brilliant. Do follow Nigel, read his books, Google him, invite him to speak at your organization or school, connect with him, and you can learn even more from him. Thank you for your generosity today, Nigel Vardy.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
I hope you've enjoyed this episode of The Thoughtful Leader, and I hope it's inspired you to be more thoughtful as a leader in your business. Please consider subscribing and leaving a review. An important question for you. Do you want to create a culture of thought leadership in your organization? My best-selling book, The Thoughtful Leader, is available now on Amazon and many other sites in paperback, ebook, and audiobook formats. Please visit www.mindygk.com for more great content. That's www.mindygk.com. Speak to you again soon.